Good morning, everyone. So, welcome to the official opening and first flagship event of the AIIB Pavilion. So, I'm Sherhao Zijdemans, your moderator for today. And for our official opening speech, please join me in welcoming to the stage AIIB's President, Chin Lee-chun.
Good morning, colleagues. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to AIIB's flagship event on bridging the gap for climate tech and digital infrastructure. This is the curtain-raising event for the AIIB Pavilion at the COP28. And over the next 2 weeks, our pavilion will host events on various topics which are essential fuel in humanity's moonshot to net zero. I will share 3 examples. First, on Sunday, AIIB will launch our 2023 Asian Infrastructure Finance Report on nature as infrastructure, which offers a transformative approach for recognizing the value of nature and enhancing investment in the protection of nature and biodiversity. Secondly, on Monday, our session on the future of financing partnerships for the energy transition will explore how multilateral development banks can work together with philanthropists, sovereign wealth funds, and the private sector to address the financing gaps faced by emerging market economies in clean energy transition. Third, and continuing into next week, we will be hosting various events that explore new climate finance tools and technologies with promising potential in humanity's fight against climate change. Our bank will continue to play our role. Earlier this year, we opened a hub office in Abu Dhabi. Our bank provides a platform for continued exchange. We will use our convening power to catalyze solutions for 109 members and to work with development partners and stakeholders to finance infrastructure for tomorrow. As the latest IPCC's assessment report released in March indicates, the choices and actions implemented in the decade will have impacts for now and for thousands of years. Up to 3 billion people reside in places that are highly vulnerable to climate change. Their lives are perched on the precipice of our decisions today. Developing countries cannot be left behind in this race. Net zero can only be achieved by humanity working together as a team. This race to net zero is not a sprint to first place. It's a yacht race on open seas. To succeed, we must finish together or we may not reach safety at all. Importantly, Asia is the main sail behind which global momentum on climate change action depends. As an infrastructure bank focused on Asia, AIIB is uniquely positioned in the fight against climate change. The infrastructure sector accounts for 79% of global GHG emissions and 88% of climate adaptation costs. So our bank's infrastructure mandate lies both at the heart of a development approach and the heart of addressing climate change. This is why we are mainstreaming climate throughout all our infrastructure financing. In July, our bank delivered on our commitment to align all new financing with the Paris Agreement. In 2022, already 56% of the annual financing went towards climate finance, surpassing our 50% climate change target, and which we are on track to surpass again in 2023. As outlined in our inaugural Climate Action Plan, released 2 months ago, we will further scale up investments and mobilize capital flows for holistic solutions that address climate mitigation, adaptation, and the preservation of nature and biodiversity. Technologies like smart grids, water resources management, and renewable energy systems are key to greening infrastructure. The COP28 presidency has identified technology and innovation as a cross-cutting theme for this COP, and AIIB's technology-enabling infrastructure is a strategic priority, and we're working hard to grow our investments in technology. By working together, we believe that MDBs can play a pivotal role in stimulating research and development, facilitating the rapid scale-up of technology adoption and accelerating cost reductions. To bring these new climate technologies to life, healthy digital arteries are crucial. As highlighted in our bank's digital infrastructure sector strategy, fiber networks, telecommunication towers, and data centers will play a fundamental role in the fight against climate change. However, digital infrastructure is no unalloyed good. While these data centers lie at the heart of our digital age, they are also energy and resource hungry. As the demand for data processing grows, so too must the advancement in data center performance. As such, our bank carefully considers their design and implementation. In short, there's much for us to discuss in this flagship event. In the first section of today's session, the panelists will discuss the challenges facing accelerating development and adoption of climate technologies. In the second section, panelists will dig deeper into how digital infrastructure can help in addressing the climate challenge and opportunities for doing so in an environmentally sustainable way. To conclude, COP28 is an important moment in our global investment to address climate change. I hope that this curtain-raising event marks the beginning of 2 weeks of stimulating and productive exchanges at the AIIB Pavilion, and I look forward to seeing the momentum for action continues to build in the weeks and months ahead. We at AIIB are ready to engage. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, President Jin. So, as President Jin mentioned, as the first part of the event, it will be all about the challenges faced in the development and adoption of climate technologies. So to set the scene, I would now like to present and demonstrate how AIIB's new initiative, the Infratech Portal, aims to provide a solution to some of the key challenges in advancing climate tech. But first, let me start with why. And to do that, I have to recap our mission. So our mission to finance infrastructure for tomorrow acknowledges that new technologies are a crucial component to enable sustainable infrastructure and to address climate change. So to embed technology into our operations, we have a thematic priority called technology-enabled infrastructure. So this means that in all of our projects, we look to add value through technology. And we do that across all of the infrastructure sectors that we finance. And so in each of these sectors that you see, we look to either adopt technologies in traditional infrastructure, or we invest into the development of new technologies for infrastructure. So what kind of value are we talking about here? So throughout the course of this event, you will hear many many ways and actual practical use cases how technology adds value to infrastructure for climate change. But to give you a bit of a taster, I have a selection of 4 different use cases across sectors. So to start with ports. So more than 80% of all international freight travels through ports, but actually less than 3% of ports are automated or semi-automated. So electrification and automation of ports presents a huge opportunity for climate impact, as well as to improve efficiency of our global supply chains. Second, smart grids. They are really a crucial element in our energy transition to connect and to orchestrate all the different energy sources, the energy storage solutions, and to optimize energy efficiency. Third, so Earth observation data can be used for many infrastructure applications. But this case, one company, Astera, used Earth observation data to improve the efficiency of field crew to detect water leaks by up to 400%. So they do this without having to break open the ground. They just do it by using high quality imagery from space and use data analytics and artificial intelligence. So this is just one example of the many solutions that companies are starting to use satellite imagery for climate impact. And fourth, smart traffic lights. So this is actually used in many cities across the world already. But in one of the early pilots in California, they used this to reduce the door-to-door travel time by 26% and the wait time at traffic lights by 40%. So this not only reduces climate impact, it also makes our everyday journey smoother. So right now these smart traffic lights are mostly based on cameras with radar, but as you can see in the high-tech picture, as cars and infrastructure get more connected and intelligent, these efficiencies will go up even further. So despite all of these opportunities and these valuable cases that are already available, so there are many challenges that actually hamper this from being adopted or developed further. So I won't go into the long list, but the first one that you see is actually very simple and very basic. A lot of the decision makers in infrastructure sectors are simply not aware. They have quite old school backgrounds in many cases. And also many of the solutions don't have a very strong proof of value yet. They're still being piloted. And then there's also the issue of restrained public budgets. So in some cases that we see, for example, solutions that are focused on preventative maintenance, the infrastructure decision makers simply don't have a budget item for that activity. So that makes it very difficult for these technology solution providers to sell it, no matter how valuable it is. And then there are many other challenges you see on this list. But to address these, we focus on 2 types of actions. So first, we are promoting the development and commercialization of valuable technologies. So the International Energy Agency estimates are quite stark. So by 2050, 30% of emission reductions have to come from technologies that are in very early stages now or aren't even invented yet. So to address this, we need to create a virtuous cycle by combining the development of new technologies with commercialization, with bringing down the costs, and also improving the recognition of the benefits on climate that these technologies have. So our second key action is to accelerate the adoption and reduce the costs of these technologies. So this requires scaling up, creating competitive supply chains, and to continuously improve efficiencies. And besides AIIB's role as an MDB to mobilize financing into these areas, equally important is our role to share knowledge about the technologies and what their value propositions are and how to adopt them. So that is why AIIB is creating the Infratech portal. So this is designed to bridge the gap between supply and demand, and to also address the knowledge gap that exists between the needs and the opportunities in this sector. So it is a public online platform that contains knowledge about Infratech, and it allows organizations to upload their own solutions and to promote them, and so that they, on the other hand, can be searched and explored by infrastructure decision makers. So it includes all the infrastructure sectors that AIIB focus on. And as you can see, climate is a theme that cuts across all of these sectors. So today I will actually demonstrate the solution for you just a bit. And this is the first time that we are actually showing this publicly, even though it's still being cooked in the kitchen. So hope everything goes well. So I'll just share my screen. Yes. Okay. Great. So this is how the Infratech portal looks right now. So as you can see, you have a search bar in the middle, and you have all the infrastructure sectors here that act as filters. And as you can see, the climate is a cross-cutting sector. Then when you scroll down, you see actual solutions. And we have three types of information here. We have the solutions, right, the actual applications of technology to solve business problems. Then we have case studies, stories from companies of how they use the technology to achieve specific benefits. And then we have solution providers. So these are the companies that actually sell these technologies. So right now if you click on climate, then you see here that we have a separation between adaptation and resilience, mitigation, and nature and biodiversity. Oh, one sec. And then you see all the solutions here. So right now we only have 53. We're currently working with an internal research team who's doing a lot of research, and to make sure that once we go live in March next year, March 2024, that we already have a good set of solutions that are valuable to the public. But the idea is that afterwards the companies will include their own solutions. So let's imagine that we are, let's say that I am an energy infrastructure operator. So I can go to energy and filter on the solutions. I'll scroll through the solutions and see if there's anything I like. And then I remember someone at COP28 told me about the value of drones for the energy sector. So I type in drone, and I see, hey, there is this thing called drone-based wind turbine inspection, drone-based smart power line inspection. So let's say I want to learn a little bit more about that. Now you enter a page where you see a lot of detail about one specific solution. In the overview, you see how the current business operation works and how the solution improves it. Then you see in what project phases this solution is relevant. And most importantly, what are the benefits this solution brings? So not only the financial, which is very important to create the point of interest in the decision maker, but also, of course, since we're talking about climate change, the environmental and social impact. And then for each of these categories, you see exactly what kind of benefits it has delivered in practice. To better understand how the solution works, we also talk about the specific components that make the solution possible. And for each of the components, for example, the different types of drones that you can buy, there's more information. There's the solution providers that sell the solution and actual case studies of how that solution has been used. Then we have the solution providers over here and the challenges regarding adopting this solution, how to mitigate these challenges, and the future outlook of the solution. And then we have an overview of case studies. So let's say I want to learn a little bit more about thermal drones, then I can actually go to the companies that sell this solution. So let's say I click on ABJ Drones, then I see here what is ABJ Drones, what are the other solutions and components that they have on the platform. And if I want to learn more, I can either chat with them on the platform, or I can go to their website and learn more about their products and get in contact with them. Then we also have dashboards to basically do more high-level analysis on what kind of solutions are out there within each sector, and what different types of technologies there are. So if I click here, then I can see exactly in what kind of sectors there are, what kind of technologies being applied. And right now we only have a limited set, but once we go live, these kinds of high-level data crunching should be more valuable. So that's it. That's a very small sneak peek of the actual portal. Now let me go back to the presentation. Yeah. Okay, great. So the portal will have benefits for a wide variety of stakeholders. So for example, and very obviously, the tech companies who want to promote their solution and share their stories, the investors who want to showcase what companies they have invested in and get inspired in terms of what new areas to invest in. Then we have the infrastructure corporations and governments that have projects that might want to explore what kind of technologies can add value to their projects. And for example, catalysts and research institutes who want to share their knowledge, their latest research, to consume other types of research products, or to get connected with potential partners. So we have engaged with all different kinds of stakeholders across this ecosystem, and we continue to proactively build our network. But the InfraTech portal also really leverages and builds upon AIIB's internal investment operations and network. So we have already been using this information, and we will continue to use these resources in our own projects to share knowledge and ideas with our clients. But, so like I said, we will go live in March 2024, and we really invite you all to be a part of it, to share your content, your case studies, your stories, the information about your company in case you sell these solutions. You can reach me after the session, or scan the QR code if you want to pre-register, and we're very happy to work with you on that. Um, so, but luckily, we are not the only one that are creating a digital platform that helps advance climate tech. And we're very, very happy that that is the case. So we are joined here today by a peer who shares our cause. And it's actually one of the world's largest technology and platform companies, Tencent. So please welcome to the stage Tencent's Vice President of Sustainable Social Value, Dr. Xu Hao.
Hi. Yes, thanks Xu Hao for the kind introduction. I'm very happy to be here. Yeah, so today I just want to take this opportunity to share some of the work we did around how do we think about accelerating climate change technology innovation to push the climate agenda forward. So, I representing one of the newest business unit, what we call sustainable social value at Tencent. At this BU, we take a business approach towards all the sustainability and development related topics, from climate change to rural development to education and healthcare, and see how we can create social and sustainable value at scale, leveraging many of our capabilities. So today, what I'm talking about, Tan Life, is actually a result of our climate change programs. So once Tencent goes into the climate change programs on how do we decarbonize ourselves, but more importantly, how Tencent can leverage our capability and work with all stakeholders externally to push the climate agenda forward. Very quickly, we actually have a focused area of climate change technology. So as Xu Hao just introduced, many of the technology that will get us to net zero are either in early stage or maybe too expensive or maybe in the very early of R&D phase. So one of our hypotheses is how Tencent can actually help to accelerate the innovation and scale up of low carbon technology. So to do that, we kind of have to do two things. On one side, you have to deep dive into some of the technology area and do the hardcore stuff. We did some of those. For example, CCUS or virtual power plants leveraging our digital capabilities. But on the other side, we also observed there are actually many peers having like-minded philosophy and working on similar programs, which naturally make us think, what if we can all work together? Can we reduce the redundant work that maybe a lot of institution is doing? What if we can connect the demand with supply, startups with potential investors, large corporations with the best possible solutions, and what if we can connect knowledge together? Could we actually create additional value? Could we actually accelerate the innovation pace? So that's why we actually launched Tan Life. So we started off in China. We launched Tan Life Chinese version December last year in Shanghai. So at the moment, Tan Life, we have kind of three aspirations. Number one is facilitate partnership between basically demand and supply. The demand supply could be a startup looking for investors, looking for potential application scenarios, or a large corporation looking for solutions. Or it could be knowledge. Can I find the most accurate knowledge about the policies, about data, about what has the best information out there from the lots of reports and lots of events that contain valuable information. The second aspiration is to showcase, we want to create almost like a virtual platform for all the startup, for the solution providers, for the early stage teams to show up what they are doing so that they can actually expand their sphere of influence to find the best partner possible. And number three is we really want to disseminate knowledge. We want to disseminate knowledge in a more effective way, and we also want to leverage Tanlight platform to create additional insights by collect all of and analyze a lot of these knowledges. So I'll show some of the early stage result we have. So at the moment, the Tanlight platform have 3 modules. Module number 1 is what we call programs. It actually started with, we launched what we call Carbon X program, focusing on CCUS technology in China. And then we did everything on Tanlight, from call for proposal to applications. We received more than 300 applications within 3 months. And then we also managed the whole evaluation phase together with 30+ experts, with 15+ industrial corporations, and many of the investor partners we have, also on Tanlight. And also we did the result announcement and dissemination, and in between there are a lot of feedbacks and communications. Everything is done on Tanlight. And we think, what if we can share that capability on Tanlight for free for everybody? So we make the program module, basically if you have a grant challenge like price, or if you want to have a call for proposal program, you can virtually done that on Tanlight coding free. So that's the number 1 solution. The number 2 is what we call Solution Hub. It's a platform for all the startup teams to show themselves. It is also for many of the knowledge partners to show what their insights are in the Solution Hub. So once we get more and more teams and partners put their information on the Solution Hub, one thing we notice is very encouraging is things begin to link with each other. For example, if I'm talking about sustainable fashion, then the upstream of that value chain is all about materials, either organic cotton or recycled fibers. And that's actually linked to agriculture, actually that's linked to the chemical industry. And then there are additional reports about how does recycled fiber actually what does it sit within the chemical industry. And that also actually linked to many of the CCU cases, the carbon utilization cases. People now using technology to turn carbon dioxide into ethanol, into methanol, into many of the basic chemicals, which in the end turning into fibers that actually potentially come into the apparel industry. So that actually make almost a separate report into a sphere, a multi-dimensional database that actually link everything. So anyone who is new to the space or new to the area can potentially scan through and find accurately what's the key information they want to have. So that's our second module. So in the future, we plan to leverage the growing capability of large language models to automate the process. So potentially that we think would create additional value. Number 3 is actually what we call a tool lab. Is there are so many professional information around climate change. Sometimes it's difficult to scan, sometimes it's difficult to understand. One example is when Tencent goes through our decarbonization journey, and once we try to get SBTi accredited, we noticed that the emission factor for the power consumption need to have a cradle-to-gate approach. Basically, if we are using a solar panel, we need to know what is the emission from mining of the silica to all the manufacturing process to how the electricity actually achieve to our doorstep. So actually, in many places, the emission factor, existing emission factor, that doesn't include the cradle-to-gate information. So as a result, it takes us a lot of time to research and to estimate, to calculate what are the cradle-to-gate emission factors for each of our data centers. So we think, okay, if we can share those information and more importantly, link the data source of the whole process into the public space, that will help a lot of people. So that's why we created the tool lab. So all of the 3 modules are evolving, and we basically take engineering software engineering approach is we collect the demand, we turn demand into development needs, and then we develop upgrade the platform to actually match those demands in a more agile way, benchmarking to the technology sector. So this year at COP28, we're really pleased to take Tan Life into the next step. So another natural step is if we can do that in China, can we make it truly global? Because climate change is a global problem and therefore needs global solutions. So this year we're really happy to actually join a new initiative, a coalition by the COP28 presidency called Innovate for Climate Tech Coalition. And we joined as an anchor partner together with Catalyst and the Master City, and it's facilitated by the COP presidency. So we use Tan Life, we turn Tan Life into a global version, and we will use Tan Life to support the work on coalition. Right. So very quickly, we actually collected, showing on the screen, many partners from early stage investors to incubators to large corporations, to think tanks, to consulting firms, to many of the organizations that is actually working in the same space like the coalition, like us. And we're really pleased that AIIB is also part of our coalition. So in the future, we envision Tan Life to be potentially like an infrastructure. So we are really eager to work with the portal AIIB creating, so that we can disseminate the knowledge, we can link the information, we can support the solutions listed in the portal into a broader space. So our ambition is basically to find the best scenario for some of the early stage technology to adapt and to continue to develop and upgrade our platform so that it become a truly infrastructure for some of the climate innovation space, so that we can really accelerate the development, the scale up of low carbon technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hao. And congratulations as well for the large international support that Tan Life and the COP28 Innovate for Climate Tech Coalition has already received. We're very happy that we joined this coalition. It will be announced publicly today. And we're very much looking forward to continue collaborating and supporting each other's initiatives. So now that we have seen these initiatives, we're very keen to hear from climate tech professionals, some voices from the industry. So what are their stories? What are their key challenges? And what do they see as solutions to these challenges? So to do that, we will start with a venture capital fund that has a significant focus on climate tech. So please welcome the managing partner of Neo Capital, Ian Drew.
Thank you, Shihao. It's a great pleasure to speak at the AIIB Pavilion at COP28. AIIB is a limited partner in our venture funds. We appreciate the support and the trust from the AIIB team. Let me use the next 10 minutes to introduce Neo Capital and some of the activities we've been embarking on, as well as the challenges and the solutions we see. Neo Capital, we focus on investing in technology innovations, which are transforming large industries, including automotive, as well as energy, as the primary focus. Then there are also adjacent sectors, such as logistics and others, which are impacted as well. And we currently manage about $2 billion, equally split between US dollar fund as well as renminbi funds that we manage. And in the middle of this page, we listed some of the very important sectors that we have been actively building portfolio. And the four of them are autonomous driving, auto and components, battery technology, as well as energy transition. And the logos here may not be familiar to a lot of people, but let me maybe just highlight a few. In the battery tech segment, we've invested in companies like CATL, now the largest battery maker in the world, Rongbai, one of the biggest producers of high energy density cathode material globally. In the energy transition category, we've been investing in solar module producers like Sunman and distributed solar producers, as well as companies make residential energy storage solutions, as well as companies using SaaS services to make sure charging and battery swapping, as well as gas stations, are running more efficiently. When it comes to auto-related investment, obviously the electrification part of it is very relevant to climate change. So we've been investing in component companies which enable the electrification drivetrain, but also another very important category, which is autonomous driving. It has also impact related to energy efficiency. For example, one of our portfolio companies, Inceptual, which is leading in the autonomous driving segment in heavy-duty truck, for line haul logistics, the biggest cost in that part of the business is actually energy. So by using autonomous driving or high level of assisted driving, trucks will be managed more efficiently, will be run more efficiently, and hence it will save energy for the logistic business. And our model is to use our fund to invest into the best in class in the technology category of these companies which they're playing. And we try to make the selection in terms of the number one or the number two player, invest into them, and then use our resource to help this company to develop to be the business leaders in the future. This page shows the underlying thesis of our investment. In the middle of it, we showed smart EV. I want to share the data that in China, in the new vehicle sales, the penetration of new energy vehicle has already reached 40%. The acceleration is amazing because 2 to 3 years ago, the penetration was only about 10%. The adoption of new energy vehicle is no longer subsidy-driven. It's really predominantly driven by consumers' acceptance that smart EV is a better product format. And electric vehicle not only offers fast acceleration, bigger interior space, but it's also a platform more suitable for digital applications. So autonomous driving is better implemented in electric platform. And then smart cockpit is now being developed very well in China in many different car models. People are really enjoying their experience in the car. The car is now more the extension to your home and the extension to your office. So we see the relationship of people to their vehicles now are changing. To make that possible, the entire industry is going through transformation. And components, new components are invented, are being deployed into the ecosystem, and older components are being recreated. So we're talking about a $10 trillion RMB business in China, and globally it will be triple that number. Very large industry will be reinvented by the smart EV movement. And the other part of the chart, we talk about energy. To supply energy to the transportation system, traditionally that was through gasoline and diesel, but now with the adoption of EV, we need to provide electricity to the transportation system. So think about the technology innovation that need to go in to build the charging, the battery swapping network, and also not just one way of energy supply, but the other way, vehicle to grid, to supply energy back to the energy industry. The infrastructure build-out and the technology innovation is tremendous. And we also need cleaner energy to provide electricity to transportation or to the other part of the economy. Now there's a global push for renewable, but keep in mind when you deploy renewable, you also need large scale of energy storage. And the demand for energy storage in the power business probably equal to the battery business for the electric vehicle industry, maybe even bigger. These are all the opportunities on the high level that we're investing in, and they are technology innovations which are transforming very large economic pillars globally. This chart, we want to show the cost comparison of renewable energy versus conventional energy. So we all know that solar and wind have reached grid parity. Perhaps not even just at grid parity. And if you look at this chart, solar and wind are cheaper when we think about levelized cost of energy in comparison to conventional energy. If we zoom in to the components of the cost of various energy generation, if you look at renewable, almost all the cost is upfront. There's no fuel cost because electricity is generated when the sun shines and when the wind blows. So there's no fuel cost, and also the maintenance cost is very minimal. It's almost very liberating if you think about it. If we just build the solar farms and the wind farms, enough of them that will supply the entire world with the energy that we need. I think last year at COP, I shared to supply the electricity demand in China, we only need about 10,000 square kilometers out of a country with more than 9 million square kilometers of land mass. It's a very small percentage of the land mass of the country. This is back of the envelope calculation. So it's liberating. If we just build solar and wind, we'll solve the energy problem of the world. But it's not that simple because we also need the transition of the energy network. Traditionally, energy was centrally generated and through transmission and distribution network going to the consumers of energy. But if we're building tremendous solar and wind, that requires a transition of the energy network. It's dynamic, it's exciting, but it's also very challenging. We need new technology, we need new infrastructure, we need tremendous policy development. Also, we need collaboration among countries and regions. As a technology investor, we zoom into the technology innovation that's needed to enable distributed energy deployment, to enable energy storage, enable energy market creation. That is a part that now we're focusing to really try to solve the climate problem. One of the case studies I like to share is the company Sunman we invested. And Sunman has created solutions to enable solar on all kinds of rooftops, not just the modern sturdy roofs, which can really hold the solar modules, which are strengthened by glass. Sunman solution use a different kind of material that they innovated to seal the solar cells, protect it, but it's lightweight. So the Sunman material is 70% lighter than the glass that's currently used to create the solar modules. And by using that solution, installing solar on rooftops is much more efficient in terms of timing and labor cost. We can imagine solar modules can be deployed not just on the modern roofs, but really on all the rooftops that we have available. which means distributed solar will play a very big part of the solar generation. And many homes and many industrial parks could be energy independent if they can generate energy on their rooftops rather than depending on the grid to have their energy supply. And Shihao mentioned Info Portal before, and Sunman has been one of the earlier adopters or participants on the Info Portal. And through participation, Sunman hope to demonstrate that this is the world's first gigawatt scale lightweight solar solution. And Sunman also hope to, through Info Portal, to reach more diverse financing channels, meet more supply chain partners, and also expand business opportunities. And Neo Capital is not just an investment firm that focuses on financial returns. We're also, by definition, we're investing in many of the climate-friendly technology companies. And we also build a system that help our companies to measure their environmental contribution. In this chart, we've been showing the increase in carbon emission reduction from 2021 to 2022. And we're confident that our portfolio companies will continue to improve and contribute to the climate agenda. So to solve the climate problem, Neo Capital's solution is to focus on investing in innovations. And by investing in innovations, we'll sustain the advancement of humankind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. And thank you for your support. So Sunman, yeah, that was the first company that we worked with to include their solutions into the Infotech portal, their first external company. And they really helped us test our processes to work with external vendors to refine the content. And we're currently starting to work with many more that we hope to meet at COP28 here. And that also includes, hopefully, the next company, which is a very promising Dutch startup focused on the water industry. So please welcome to the stage co-founder of Desalinator, Alexei Levine.
Good morning. I think my first comment is that if we could all show the same resourcefulness that we got in arriving here today, I think we can solve climate change. Okay. So, Desalinator. So the water crisis today is affecting millions and millions of people across the world. By 2030, less than a decade, there'll be a 40% deficit in clean water. And it's useful at a climate conference to think that actually the way that we'll experience climate change is through water, whether it's through droughts, through floodings, through contamination, through saline intrusion into our systems. So desalination, turning seawater into drinking water, is one of the fastest growing areas of the water industry. However, today it uses a lot of fossil fuels, it's very carbon intensive, and it uses a lot of chemicals that end up in a brine that ends up back in the sea and back into the land. And that in turn has systemic consequences for climate and for our overall water supply. So at Desalinator, what we started with was to say, how can we develop a technology built around solar to desalinate water? We know we have to desalinate, but can we do it from solar energy? And our first patent was actually to develop our own panels where not only do we harvest the 15% of electricity that you normally would from PV, we get another 45% of what would normally be waste heat. So we get 60% efficiency on our panels, and actually for a similar price at mass manufacture that we would for normal PV. So as a thermal process, our thermal medium is water. We take that hot water, we store it into a thermal battery. It's our second patent. We do something quite clever with it, but basically a very cheap way of storing energy as hot water. And really our governing principle and philosophy with this is, number one, achieve the lowest possible levelized cost of energy. Number two, make it sustainable as possible. And number three, as durable as possible. So we take that hot water and we use that in a thermal process. The benefit of a thermal process, so distilling water, is that we don't use membranes, and that means we don't need any of the chemicals that you normally would. So we create a product that is ultra pure water. And actually, we can remineralize that. We built a plant here for the national utility. We completed last year. We're building another plant now, which is just about completed. We're going to be having visitors during the COP, connecting with the national food company. So making tomatoes in the desert here. It's really quite wonderful, taking brackish water. But actually, now we're getting a tremendous demand from hydrogen producers. When you make hydrogen, you need ultra-pure water. We make ultra-pure water. And electrolyzers make oxygen, hydrogen, and a lot of heat. And we love heat, so we can take all of that heat into our system. And in that scenario, we're making water for less than 50 cents a cubic meter, without chemicals, right? Without fossil fuels. Now, where this gets exciting from a climate point of view, and we get excited about the carbon industry, let's say, going through a little bit a maturation cycle, because our solution is 1,400% less carbon intensive than traditional seawater reverse osmosis. So we're very excited that as this industry and as the ability to monetize that carbon ramps up, that we can actually create real value. We would love to deploy our systems for free, actually, for municipalities to be able to take the carbon credits, but it'll take time to do that. So we've been getting tremendous traction in this part of the world. Of course, here in the Middle East, we're in the UAE, all of the water is coming from desalination. There are some small pockets in the region of fresh aquifers, but they've been depleted very fast. So actually, the momentum is here. We're very much focused on distributed applications. So in the region of about 1 million to 10 million liters of water per day. So for industries, for hydrogen, for food production, for small communities, that's really where we're focused. But I think really with the spirit of the AIIB's work, you know, the challenge for a company like ours, because let's face it, abundant resources like sun and sea and low carbon, I mean, come on, why are we not doing this like full turbocharge everywhere in the world? And I can tell you, it's extremely difficult as a hardware company that is not an AI, we built AI, is not a blockchain. We have a lot of blockchain companies who want to work with us. We have hardware that's doing the hard lifting. It's incredibly difficult to fund when you go from an idea, which we started in our garden, in my garden some years ago, when you go from an idea to an industrial scale system that could bend the arc of our civilization's most pressing challenges, at least play a small role. So what is needed to help companies like us? The gap is going from that early stage journey, right? Getting us to the point where we can have a bankable product. For it to be truly bankable, you need to have an economy of scale. And that means you need to have orders, right? And then you need to be able to supply those orders, and you need to balance that demand and supply. At that stage, for a company like us, we're incredibly economically viable, incredibly bankable. But to get to that stage is very tough. So I have regularly people coming to us saying, you know, how can we invest? And, you know, and then they hear the minimum ticket is $50 million and things like that. Actually, there's no shortage of capital at the large scale. We're not worried about that. But going from zero to the first stages where you can get a product bankable is a huge gap. And I warmly encourage organizations like AIIB, Neo Capital, and others to help fill that gap. So I wish all of you a very successful COP. I guess the measure of success is that there's no COP29. Let's see if we can all play a role together. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Alexei, for sharing this very exciting new technology. And And we hope we can make more people excited about this by including it in the Infotech portal and in 10 Live. So you actually did it without your slides. So I'll...
Maybe you go back one so I can show you that it's real. Next one. Okay, so this is the plant that we built for the Dubai Energy and Water Authority. So when you go to one of the taps around here and you fill up your bottles, very, very small amount of that is coming from us. And we completed this plant last year. These are our PBT thermal panels that we've developed, our multi-effect distillation system. And much better that you see this from in here because it's a little bit warm outside there. So yeah. Okay, I didn't realize there was a group.
Great. Okay, great. So that basically concludes the first part of the event. So we will now start with the next part of the flagship event, which focuses on the underlying digital infrastructure that makes most of the climate technologies possible. So many of the climate technologies that we've discussed today, they really rely on robust digital infrastructure, such as fiber optic networks, telecom towers, and data centers. So in this event, we will talk about the role that digital infrastructure plays in climate challenge. And to start off, we will have a look at some practical examples of AIIB's activities in digital infrastructure for climate. So for that, please welcome AIIB Senior Investment Officer for Digital Infrastructure, Sergio Perez.
Thank you very much, dear Shihao. So I'm here as representative of the investment side, meaning origination, structuring, processing, approval until commitment, and then implementation of digital infra transactions. And I wanted to focus my presentation on what we are and what we can do multilaterals to contribute to climate adaptation and mitigation through digital infrastructure. And here the most important is understanding that digital infrastructure is not to blame for climate effects. We, and many of us, are we using here our mobile phones? When we use mobile phones, we consume energy here, but also in the data centers where we are getting the content, we are streaming, we are bringing files from the cloud. That means microprocessors, electronics, energy consumption, right? You need also heat generation. You need also to refrigerate, right? So these are basically actually the consumers, citizens, individuals, households, small and medium enterprises, governments, big corporations that are continuously using content, using data, using cloud, streaming, watching TVs, movies, right? Listening, streaming services, Spotify, right? That's huge amount of data that is exponentially growing, as you can see, in petabytes. Strange figure, by the way. So basically, almost 60% of all global data consumed, generated, are from these 6 companies. But they are not generating the data, are their clients, right? Who are generating data, who are generating heat, who are consuming energy, right? So there is a carbon footprint each time we send an email, each time we use Twitter, there is a carbon footprint, there is energy consumption, and there is heat, and there is plenty of things happening, right? So this is, of course, giving a huge amount of capex, of investment in digital infrastructure. I can show you a few examples. Data center market globally growing at 10%. We would need almost $500 billion to provide broadband all over the world to the rural areas that are actually isolated from that, or certain type of digital infrastructure is growing at a CAGR of 20% in 2022-30, right? So there is a booming of digital infrastructure CapEx investments because we are continuously expanding our digital consumption of data and so on. So that, of course, gives the requirement to build new data centers, new computers, ICT equipment, 5G equipment, submarine cables, telecom towers, and so on, digital transformation, right? So we are here working together to try to reduce consumption, to mitigate what us, right, individuals and companies are actually consuming. So the digital industry and other stakeholders, like multilaterals, particularly the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, us, we are providing and helping to mitigate climate, to provide solutions for climate mitigation and also adaptation. So on the climate mitigation side, because of our data usage, we are basically consuming energy. Each time we send a WeChat message or a WhatsApp message, there is a microprocessor somewhere heating and consuming energy. There are all kinds of solutions like cooling, refrigeration, those devices that we put on top of the chips to dissipate the heat. And also in data centers, there are all kinds of technologies that basically what they do is reducing the consumption as much as possible, right? There is always a limit, but industry and today some of the speakers are explaining what we are doing, and also multilateral. So from climate adaptation perspective, digital is key, right? Because we can basically interconnect areas that can be isolated because of typhoons, because of the increase of the level of the seas. There are places that will be also isolated, damage. We can use those technology. We can have more resilient communications through digital. We can have a better supervisory and control of assets. We can have better payments, robust digital payments, and digital financial management. So we can do plenty of things through digital for climate adaptation. So what are we doing at AIIB, right? So we have a digital infrastructure strategy, which is this one. Basically, we finance hard and soft, and I can mention core assets like telecom towers, like mobile network operators, like rural access, like data centers, cloud services, and also digital transformation projects. So I will show you two investment cases showing how are we helping and how are we investing in climate adaptation through digital. So this is the first example. So this is a project that our board of directors approved last week, $400 million. It's a very chunky transaction in co-finance with the World Bank. It's basically putting in place all kinds of measures for digital transformation in Philippines, which basically will help, among many other things, to climate adapt the country. Right? So the World Bank put 600, we put 400. In total, ticket size 1 billion this year. Next year, we will see. Three examples of climate adaptation benefits. So for instance, because of this project, it was rolled out an integrated financial management information system at the country level, which basically will control and monitor the flows between departments, budget planning, and this is key when there is a catastrophe or there is a pandemic coming up, because it helps all the departments to relate automatically through digital system instead of manually by sending, papers and reports and all that. Second, a national asset registry system that also includes climate-related assets that the country has. So there is a sort of inventory that basically integrates all those assets and better adapts to control. And finally, another example is the Philippines Creative Industry Act that basically includes grants for green tech, clean tech, and climate tech firms. I'm finishing. Second case, this is a case of climate mitigation. So this was an investment that we did in data center space through Keppel Corporation. It was a multi-country facility for data centers in emerging countries. $150 million investment, 100 main fund, 50 million parallel fund participation. Co-investment sleeve participation. To invest in greenfield data center capacity in Asia, in countries like China, Indonesia, Malaysia, India, perhaps Vietnam, and others. It's under implementation as of now. So what we did here in terms of climate mitigation. So we did several things. I mean, first of all, we put an ESG management system on top of the fund at the project level, meaning that all the projects should follow those management systems in order to mitigate and manage environmental and social risks, right? So that was the first time it was done, and we were proud that this has helped the fund manager to mitigate and manage those risks. And actually, we already had some, as a result of this, one of the issues was satisfactorily resolved, and I think it's going in the right way. Second, in terms of strategic partnership on particularly green data center technology, so that means, dissemination and climate-related actions, and this event is one example of that. And finally, on climate finance, we put the joint methodology of all multilaterals development banks to track climate mitigation finance to avoid greenwashing, and certain effects is also included as part of this project. So in summary, we work in climate adaptation and climate mitigation through digital infrastructure, we multilaterals, and we think this is the right way, and there is a strong potential to continue this way to try to mitigate what we through our very extensive usage of data year by year, we can work all together to work on to solve that and reduce the energy as much as possible, and also in the climate adaptation front. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sergio, for sharing AIIB's digital infrastructure initiatives, and especially these large and impactful projects that you've recently worked on. So now we will give the floor to experts from IRENA, who have done extensive research on the impact of digital infrastructure on the energy transition. So please welcome to the stage from IRENA, Simon Benmaras.
Thank you, Xiao, and I'm very happy to be here with you today. It's an exciting collaboration with AIIB and especially highlighting the importance of digital infrastructure. My name is Simon Benmaras. I work at the IRENA Innovation and Technology Center. We are part of IRENA, which is headquartered in the United Arab Emirates, and we are very fortunate to be part of COP28 this week. I wanted to give you, following Sergio overview on the different investment and the priorities of AIIB in this sector, a few insights from our analysis on the role of digital solution in the energy transition. First, a lot of our analysis is grounded into our World Energy Transition Outlook scenario, which is our 1.5 compatible energy transition scenario. So it means we have analyzed what are the options toward 2030 and 2050, which will provide the decarbonization of all subsector in the energy, let's say, industry. So this is the supply view, and as you can see, around roughly $1 trillion will be needed to fund this transition. This will require investment in a lot of technologies on the supply side, driven by solar PV, especially relevant in the, for example, Asian part of the world, but also wind, both onshore and offshore wind. So those are the typical, I would say, technologies that will be also met with other solutions that will also be closer to the demand side of the equation. And for that, we see a lot of potential to look at other technologies that can decarbonize power, but also other end uses and industrial applications. And for that, we see a multiple type of vectors, including hydrogen playing a role in the future. The trends we see emerging, let's say the mega trend for the energy transition are showed here. The first part is about the electrification of end uses. So mentioning we need solutions that can decarbonize sectors which traditionally are very hard to electrify. So I'm talking about heavy industry, specific industrial sector that will need new solutions. Second part is the decentralization. So we are moving from a more centralized generation, let's say, type of system to decentralized, where a lot of generation assets will be tied with demand, let's say, centers, like a lot of, as Sergio mentioned, a lot of data centers and all will have closer to their, let's say, location, assets that can power 100% during the day, so meaning 24 hours their energy consumption. And the third, of course, is a digital, let's say, transformation that enable faster response and better communication of assets between, let's say, sending information, but also receiving it to monitor and control those in a more granular way. So if we deep dive now into the digital aspects for the energy transition, here, when we look at all the solutions and try to group them together, we see three, let's say, main thematics that are emerging. The first one is the use of artificial intelligence. So here we're not talking about the one you see on internet, generative. We talk about enabling faster automated decision making based on the time of day and the availability of renewable energy sources. So that today is done with a lot of processes, involve control centers, and we see more and more evolving in a system where you will have artificial intelligence supporting those centers to make faster decisions, so responding much faster at the level of a few seconds, even milliseconds, to change in the situation. The second thing is we see the emergence, a lot of data, let's say, points, and the growth of the volume of data that will be processed. We group them into the Internet of Things aspects, so a lot of data that will be captured with the use of industrial automation. And the third one, of course, is the distributed ledger technologies, blockchain, which will enable, for example, more newer form of contracts between producers and consumer. The first part on AI, for us, the fundamental challenge that we need to solve is the integration of higher share of renewables. Today, solar, wind are by nature intermittent, meaning that they cannot produce in a stable way throughout the day. And AIs enable the balancing of the system. So with AI, you can balance more or in a faster way how, for example, intermittent solution like wind energy can be coupled with more stable solution that will be, let's say, operated when there is less wind or no solar resources. And those as well provide solution to better forecast the production, so you can inform the consumer in advance, a day, an hour, a second before, what will be the availability of energy, but also what will be the price of it. The second one is that you are able to provide more stability to the grid, which is a fundamental aspect that will be discussed today. We need to invest in renewables, but we need to invest in the infrastructure and the grid, otherwise this will not happen. And AI can enable to maintain the stability and the reliability of the grid by balancing the assets together. And lastly, on the consumption side, you see a lot of, let's say, forecast improved demand, so you can predict more easily the demand from large consumer, and you can improve the use of energy, so let's say accelerating the uptake of energy efficiency measures. So we're here to also show example of what has worked, and we wanted to showcase a few very good examples. The first one on distributed ledger is basically the application of that in the energy sector. We see a lot of potential of enabling more or newer form of smart contracting between different parties. Obviously, this will not enable greater, let's say, integration of risk and that, but it's basically connect more easily at a lower cost different parties. So we see a lot of application of, for example, using dynamic rates for smart contracting of renewables. The second solution that I mentioned before is the use of those solutions to balance the grid. So one of the key terms that is emerging is the use of virtual power plants. So here it's essentially a lot of consumers that are going to aggregate, so sum up their consumption to be able to sell them as a package to other consumers. So the emergence of prosumers, and for that you need to have solutions that can aggregate the demand and sell it or provide it to others at a specific time of day and a specific cost. We see examples in, for example, Southern Europe that enable already that, and the regulators already accepted this form of integration of digital tools. The third example as well, obviously it will be showcased by our colleagues here, but the uptake obviously of renewables to power data centers is a major trend as well. We see that there is a decoupling of the consumption and the increase of computing provided by data center, which is a very good news, and we see a lot of technologies being used to provide solutions, not only the electrons, but also the heating part. So the cooling part is a fundamental aspect for data centers, which can be powered very easily by newer solutions like renewable heat solution and so on. From Google, we learned that you're able to also blend a lot of technologies that to enable a better understanding on how data centers work. Here is an example of the use of AI in Google DeepMind application, where they are able to really forecast in advance the use of power in their global data centers in the objective to reduce demand and also channel all the higher demand to where the wind and solar energy are available in the day. So as a summary, I think from our analysis and our research in this topic, we see a lot of factors that will enable the uptake and the acceleration of investment in this sector. The first one is the digital solution improve performance, improve stability, which is fundamental for the conservative customers of the energy industry. The second one is that they enable to reveal benefits to many stakeholders in the energy supply chain. They enable to reduce consumption, so this is fundamental because the energy that you don't consume is the energy you don't have to decarbonize. Third one is they are going to benefit the standardization of the infrastructure, and also the use of cybersecurity and data management tool will really streamline the application in emerging markets. Key factor for us to improve and accelerate those solutions, the adoption, is to work on increasing the maturity of technologies. So many technologies are now at the demonstration or at the large scale, let's say, piloting at the customer side. So we need more investment in demonstrating reliable solution. We need to increase the availability of data and the quality of data as well, because a lot of data is not available to really be a channel into digital solution. We need a vast overall of cybersecurity in the energy sector, because today there is a lot of gaps that will, let's say, impede the progress of digital solutions. So we need to also disseminate cybersecurity, raise awareness across the energy spectrum. And obviously a lot of work will be done with the private sector, with NGOs to upskill, retrain, let's say, with the workforce that were traditionally invested in the conventional energy sector. Thank you very much, and we are again very happy to contribute to the discussion today.
Thank you, Simon, for sharing this insightful research. I think we can all agree now that the importance of digital in the energy transition is undeniable. But as the need for more digital infrastructure increases, there's also increasing scrutiny on the resources they use. Especially data centers are under the loop. And to ensure sustainability, data center developers and operators they are really innovating rapidly. And to hear more about this, please welcome to the stage the CEO of Keppel Data Centers, Mr. Thomas Bang.
Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, good evening, whoever that's on online. Thank you very much, AIIB, for the invitation once again. Glad to be here with you. I think, for a start, just wanted to share everyone how data center were created in the first place. I think computing has always been very distributed in corporates or at homes. And over the last 20 plus years, a data center was created to give economy of scale, to be more efficient in terms of power consumption and the energy used in cooling the servers that is operating in many different places. And over the years, the efficiency has improved, but the data center capacity has grown so much and it's become a bit of an eyesore. Yeah? Aggregating all the data center power consumption together, it is roughly about 1% of the global electricity consumption right now. And the carbon emission is actually probably equate that of the aviation sector and the shipping sector. So it is a sizable contributor to carbon emission, and therefore that the industry definitely need to pay a lot of attention in making their operations a lot more efficient and a lot greener. Sorry. So just a quick background. Keppel is a fund manager, investment manager with deep operating capabilities. We are in 3 segments in real estate. Increasingly, we are looking at sustainable urban redevelopment in Asia mainly. And the second is in energy and environment, mainly in energy transition, in waste management and water management. And finally, the third segment that Keppel is involved in is in connectivity, meaning data center where I come from, and also connectivity, which is mainly submarine cable business that we have just started to embark into. And we have a portfolio of 32 data centers across Asia and Europe, some operated by us, some operated by our customers. And focus is increasingly more in Asia, where the growth is demonstrating a much faster, going at a faster pace. Okay, so I think Sergio has covered quite a bit of this. I think if you look at it, depending on which market segment you are in, some market could be growing at 20%, but on the global scale, I think data center industry is growing at about 10 to 11% annually. And this is driven by what Sergio has explained earlier: artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, cloud adoptions, and blockchain, and so forth. So these are really driving the adoption of data center usage. And I mean, just diverge a little bit. I think on weather prediction, I think supercomputers are increasingly being used to predict weather patterns, and it is one of the big tenets of data centers around the world. In almost every major country that has a supercomputer. Okay, I think this is almost the same thing as what Sergio has shown earlier. You look at the J curve that is showing. I think it is rather the impact on electricity consumption is quite a big one. Okay, but the industry players, especially the large customers of data center, mainly the hyperscale cloud service providers like Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, to the Chinese Huawei Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, and so forth. They all understand the challenges and the impact their businesses has on the environment. And almost everyone has committed to target to be net zero by 2030. Some slightly more ambitious than the other, but because of this commitment, the pressure is now on the data center industry to work together with them to come out with the solutions to help them to achieve that target. Okay, I think I'm going to skip a little bit because this is getting a bit too micro to talk a little bit about Singapore. But Asian is, of course, bringing the big growth to the digital economy, and therefore the consumption of data center will grow at much faster pace. And it is also playing a bit of catch up with the US and Europe as well. So you will see Asia being in the focus of our attention. All right, so actually, before I go there, let me just, as a result of the industry coming together to provide answer to this challenge, you can see that the data center industries are getting together. For example, iMason, which is an industry grouping comprising of companies that develop solutions for digital infrastructure. They have voluntarily come out with a grouping to work with a climate accord to look at different areas where they can contribute. For example, how do we source for renewable energy? How do we make your data center a lot more efficient in the cooling? And how do you make construction of data center a lot more greener, using less concrete and so forth, and recycle all the servers material in order to reduce wastage. So the European data center industry has also created a grouping, a volunteer group called Climate Neutral Data Center Association. So they are also doing putting in a lot of focus on that. And these are mainly coming from data center developers and data center operators, and comprising mainly the engineers and the technical solution folks. They are working using their volunteer hours to try to contribute to this. So now let me just go on to what Keppel is trying to do in this space, which is why AIIB is putting a little bit of investment in our projects as well. So Keppel is looking at solutions. Some of it you'll hear exactly what Simon have already explained earlier. The approach, I'm quite happy that the approach seems to be similar. I think we are trying to make our data center a few things. The focus is on making our data centers smart, making our data centers connected, and thirdly, making our data center green. And we hope that with this approach, the data center industry and our business will be a sustainable one. So first, I think if you focus on the data centers being in the market where you are consumed, you will end up having a lot of stress in the systems. And by building high-speed submarine cable systems that connect computes from around the world, you will help to balance out some of the load so that it is a bit more distributed. So we believe that the connected data centers ecosystem will be a lot more efficient in moving some of the computes to where renewable energies are available, and also you will be able to serve some of the big consumption centers without having to locate data center where they are. We are building the first submarine cable system from Keppel. This is a project called Bifrost, 15,800 kilometer linking Singapore to the US. This is longest and largest capacity system that is being put in the water right now. And of course, there will be investment and new projects that come out that will trump this. But I think right now we are going to be the one that's fastest and longest distance they will be put in water. It is now almost 70% completed in the Pacific segment, waiting for US FCC approval. And I mentioned smart earlier. We are using AI and machine learning to make sure that we are able to, number one, look at point of failures of our systems and inefficiency in our system, in the power backup, in the cooling, to make sure that we can correct those inefficiencies, either or automate them or alert to the operators to have manual intervention. And with that, we hope that you can improve the efficiency and reduce the power consumption. And in the long run, you want it to be automated, so that it can automatically correct itself. And with this AI and machine learning, we also hope to have better preventive maintenance regime such that the equipment failures can be avoided and make your equipment last a lot longer, again contributing to the efficiency of the system. So now going to making the projects greener. This is the first of a prototype that we are going to be putting into water. In a location where it's land scarce and green energy challenged, we are, like Singapore, we are putting this proposal up and we are at the very late stage of getting final government approval to do this. We will build data centers on the modular approach so that you construct them at a faster pace, and you float them in water so that you are able to find capacity in a land scarce place like Singapore. And then finally, using seawater for cooling, we improve the energy efficiency. And you saw on Sergio's slides earlier, data center industry is measured by PUE, power utilization efficiency. And a typical data center in Asia, or in a tropical climate, has a PUE of about 2. And with this data center, we are trying to reduce it below 1.3. And using seawater cooling is one of the way where the efficiency could be improved. And using the energy impact assessment that we have carried out, the seawater intake, and after going through the heat exchangers, it will only have a temperature delta of 1 degree. So this has a very low impact to the marine ecosystems near our data center. And this hopefully will be future-proof as well. If this works out, we are able to build them in a modular basis and able to deploy to other places when a certain location is no longer required. You can shift them to another location to grow the data center portfolio and reuse them instead of having to reconstruct, demolish or reconstruct again. So this is the first of the projects that we do. But going beyond that, I think what we have a slightly more ambitious target, and this is really our next 10 years project. We have gotten together with many industry players, from our customers to also to our competitors. For a country like Singapore, where we struggle with renewable energy import, we believe that by aggregating the demand of the industry players, we will be able to unlock the importation of green electrons or green molecules. This is a 1 gigawatt campus that we have designed. Yeah, a typical data center in the city right now, we are talking about 20 megawatt, growing to maybe about 50 megawatts. But we are looking at a 1 gigawatt campus. And with this 1 gigawatt, we believe that we will have the bargaining power to talk to renewable energy exporters and importers. The focus is really to look at green hydrogen. Yeah, with this aggregated demand, can we create a supply chain that can bring green hydrogen into Singapore? And it will and potentially, if this works, you can deploy in different countries, very much like what LNG has done. Yeah? By aggregating the demand, you can then achieve economy of scale and build export terminals in the countries where they have access to renewable energy, and build up a fleet of tankers that can ship your green hydrogen, whether it's in ammonia form or in liquid hydrogen form. And then in the receiving country, build a new infrastructure for receiving terminals and power generations capacity. So this is really long-term projects, and I welcome further discussions with anyone here. AIIB is already part of the equation, and I welcome discussions with anyone else who is interested to look at this further. And I think I will skip the video because I don't think it's running. Sorry, it's going to take a bit of time, but thank you very much, and can contact me here.
Well, just a minute of conclusions. So Simon did a wonderful presentation where he introduced, for instance, concepts as the usage of artificial intelligence to increase performance, predictability of networks, and also the usage of big data technologies, and others. Sorry, I lose my notes. Big data and blockchain, several examples for the advantage and a better management of energy networks. And then Thomas did also a very good presentation, wonderful, where I would like to emphasize 3 key innovations: smart data centers, floating data centers with an amazing PUE of 1.3 at tropical latitudes, which is very important compared to the market standard of 2, and also that data center campus that facilitates the extensive use of hydrogen and other green technologies. I think we can stop here. We can then move to the Q&A. I'm sure my colleagues may have some questions. Otherwise, Shihao will take the lead. Thank you.
Yeah, so if there are any questions, you can raise them. Are there any questions in the room? Okay, I think there are no questions. It was clear. So you know the speakers. Please come and find us and reach out to us after the event or during COP. So with that, we conclude the flagship event on bridging the gap for climate technologies and digital infrastructure. Thank you all for joining, and enjoy the rest of COP28.